Welcome back to another video. Today, VIC-20 day. Let's get this guy finished up and ready to go. Stay tuned. So I've got a bunch of things we need to do to it. We need to get the cover for the can back on. We need to put the heatsink back on and apply some new thermal compound to it. We need to replace the fuse. The fuse that was in there was the wrong type, so I ordered just some replacement fuses that are the right type, 3 amp slow blow. And then we need to fabricate a custom power adapter for it as well. So I found this online. This is for a Rocktron device of some type. The VIC-20 takes 9 volt AC at 3 amps. This one is 9 volt AC at 2.9 amps. This will be okay. But the problem is the connector on this guy looks like this, so it's got 4 pins coming out. So we need to figure out which pins are going to be putting out the AC, and then we need to create a power adapter that can plug into this type of a connector here. So I think I'll sacrifice a cord from like an old boombox or something, but we'll get to that in a minute. All right, so for cleaning the VIC-20 board, I took the lid off the can here. It's a little oxidized, a little rusty, not too bad, but we'll wash that. And I do want to take this heatsink off, so that just takes a standard Phillips screwdriver in the back here, in this little recessed hole. So you can see that there is some thermal compound on this component and on this heatsink as well. So we'll want to clean that off and replace it with some fresh stuff. But otherwise, I think this board's ready to make a trip to the sink. I'm actually going to just take this cable completely out. All right, so we're over here at the sink. I've got my VIC-20 board, my ever handy electric toothbrush. So I'm just going to hit it with some hot water here. All right, and I'm going to use my toothbrush then to scrub the board down, get all the loose grime off of it. All right, we'll give it a little shake and take a look at it, and I think we got all of the dirt off. I'm not seeing any additional dirt here. And yes, my water heater just turned on. It's right next to us over here in my basement, so sorry for the noise. So after I clean the board with water, I like to use some 99% isopropyl alcohol to just get into all of the places where water might accumulate. I do have a water softener here, so there shouldn't be any residue from hard water, particulate in there. But either way, I like to just use some 99% IPA to flush out all the water from under the chips, in the can here, and in the ports, of course. All right, so I've allowed the board to dry for now. It's been 4 or 5 days, so we should be good. As you can see, the board came out looking really nice from the cleaning. There's still a little bit of like some residue and stuff on it, but you know, overall I'd say it's pretty clean. You can see I missed a couple of spots here with the toothbrush, but overall looking a ton better than it looked before. All right, well, let me get the camera up and we'll get to work. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is replace the fuse, since that's going to be easiest to do. As you can see, I've taken the old fuse out already, so I've just got a socket here. All right, so immediately have found one problem. These fuses are too long. But it looks like we can still pop it in and have it make good contact with both sides. So as you can see, it's a little longer than the factory fuse, but both sides are still making an electrical connection, so it should be fine there. We can again test that with continuity. We'll just put it on the contacts. And yeah, we have good continuity there. So if you're buying replacement fuses for your VIC-20, probably worth measuring the size of them to make sure you get the right size. This is 6 by 30 millimeters, so I'm guessing probably something like 25 millimeters would be what you should get. All right. So I think the next thing to do is to let's reattach this. So the heatsink component for this sits on top of this guy here. And there's a screw that goes right through the middle of it. So I should have that over here somewhere. If you recall, I didn't actually take this particular heatsink through the wash in the sink. Didn't really think it was necessary. It wasn't too bad. And plus it's just metal, so you know, a little bit of Windex or whatever could clean it up, but it's in pretty good shape, so didn't bother with it. All right, so we've got the old crusty stuff cleaned up. So let's get some new thermal compound, and we'll just do a little circle here. Definitely don't want to overdo it. In fact, that's probably too much, but that should be okay. All right, so this just sits on top of this section like so, and our screw goes into the bottom through the component. And before we tighten it all the way, we'll make sure that it's in the correct spot. All right, looks good. All right, so far so good. So I think the next thing I would like to do is to get this cord refitted to work with a VIC-20. All right, so I have a cord from like an old boom box here, from like the old Sony boom boxes, and it fits in. It's a little tight, but it fits in pretty well. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off here, and we'll throw this away because now this is dangerous because it's got exposed wires with what would be mains voltage. So I don't want to save that for any reason. And then, unfortunately for Rocktron, thank you for the power adapter, but I'm going to be using it for something you didn't intend it to be used for. So there are 4 pins here. I don't know if that means there's 4 wires inside or what. It does list only one output, 9 volt AC. So let's find out. Go ahead and cut that off. And it looks like there are only 2 wires in there. Next thing to do is to expose the wires here so we can get those back. And now we need to get the wires out of here. So I'm going to use a jig here to hold the wires together so I can solder them. And it does not really matter at all which goes with which because it is AC. So there is no positive and there is no negative. We'll just solder these guys together. All right, so now I'm just going to use my famous electrical tape since I didn't have any smaller heat shrink tubing, and then we'll slide the heat shrink tubing over this connection, and then we'll apply some heat to it. Make sure it's nice and shrunk. All right, I think we're good there. Yep, feels good and solid. So now let's plug this back in and let's make sure we're getting 9+ volts coming out of the other end, and we are. Still the same 9.8. Seems a little high, but no worries. So if you have a VIC-20 and you don't have a power supply for it, and you don't want to use the original one, I just found this after some Google searching, looking for a specific adapter that was 9 volt AC at 3 amps. Again, this one's just a little under 3 amps, but I think this was about 20 bucks. And then of course this cable I had, but I think you can probably buy one of these for $2 or $3 on Amazon. Just a standard figure 8 connector, I think is what it's typically called. And that seems to fit in just fine. So this should be good to power our system. So let's set this off to the side. Next thing I wanted to do was reinstall can lid. So this just kind of press fits back on, nothing too special about it. This is the front of the machine and there's writing on it, so I'm just going to put that towards the front. And it just kind of clips down. All right, so then we can reinstall it back into the case. As mentioned, I'd cut off the RF shielding from the top instead of desoldering because I had no plans to put it back on. So let's make sure everything still fits in here and looks good. So then we'll take our 5 screws and reinstall the board. All right, so now we can fit the keyboard back on. So we've got the power LED which plugs into here. And then we've got the keyboard cable, which plugs in over here. And the keyboard cable is keyed, so we shouldn't be able to install it backwards or, you know, missing off a pin or anything. All right, so we can make sure that cable gets tucked in, and then we can refit the clips in the back. Let's reconnect the power LED to the correct place. All right, well, we've got the system is booted. Let me turn this light off so that's a little easier for both of us to see. I don't think I tested the keyboard in this one yet, so let's just give that a quick test. All right, so it looks like the D key and the X key are a little sticky, but they do work. I think just, yeah, X key is already better. D key seems like it's better too. So I think just probably age and just mashing them a bunch has cleaned up the contacts a little bit or whatever. So yeah, they're both working pretty good now. Cool. So the next thing I want to do is actually run some software on here. So let's switch it off and let me grab my drive emulator. All right, so I've got my SD to IEC. Got my card with software loaded on it, so let's power this on. So load quote FB20 for the VIC-20 version, comma 8. Oops. Comma 8. Let's see, it's accessing it, so that's good. Now if we run, we should get the file browser. We do. Down to my VIC-20 folder. Let's go with Space Invaders, see if that runs. So it's loading off the drive. All right, and we've got Space Invaders. So I need a joystick. So luckily, the Commodore VIC-20 C64, I think all of the Commodore machines are compatible with Atari joysticks. Atari came out first, and Commodore just copied what they'd done. So let me grab a joystick. I'll plug this into the control port. All right. Press return to start. It looks like we're kind of off the screen a little bit. This obviously is a widescreen, and it may not be showing things correctly. But it is running, so let's reset. Let's try a different game, see if we get better results. Alien Blitz. So I'm not even sure what the controls are for it. Like we can set the level to 0. Hopefully that's... Alright. And from where I'm sitting, I can't see the shots coming down, so... that makes it a little difficult. I can't see my shots going up, and I can't see the shots coming down. It's very clearly a Space Invaders clone, though. Cool. Well, anyway, I think everything's working great, so let's turn it off, and let's get the rest of the screws back in here and do one final test. Make sure everything is still good. Load, quote, file browser 20, quote, comma 8. We'll run that. Looks good. And let's just try that last game that I have on here. Let's see if it runs as well. I think it's probably another Space Invaders clone. Reconnect the joystick. All right. Yep, it seems to work. And again, from this angle, I can't really see what's going on. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. So VIC-20, we built our own power adapter for it, sort of. And again, this is the Rocktron AC adapter, model number U090290AA3, part number 006-2029. Seems it's supposed to put out 9 volts AC at 2.9 amps. The VIC-20 would like to have 3 amps, but unless you're really taxing the system, have lots of things plugged into it, probably not going to ever be a problem. This thing is putting out about 9.8 volts, not 9 volts as advertised, but obviously it seems like everything's okay. We replaced the fuse, and we cleaned the board. Yeah, I think that's it. Really nice system. It's in pretty good shape overall. The original dust cover. So, tell me that's not super awesome. Look at that. Imagine that sitting on your desk in the early 1980s. Friends are coming over saying, man, this guy's got everything. He's got a VIC-20 under his dust cover. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, if you're working on your VIC-20, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'm always happy to provide whatever advice I'm able to. And if I don't know something, I'm more than happy to tell you that I don't know something. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.